everybody, Michelle here from Gardening TLC, and today we are going to plant up my greenstalk planter with some yummy edibles, herbs, lettuces, some spinach, because one, I want to be able to demonstrate what the greenstalk planter is in the store, but two, we're going to make lunch for everybody once everything grows up. And I just thought maybe I'd show you how easy it is to use a greenstalk planter. So come along today and let's check it out. My greenstalk planter right here. Now I have tan and green that I sell in the store. I use the little spinners at the bottom and start with those. Now this one here has wheels on it and it allows me to spin this around so that way I can move it as the sun is traveling over the building and make sure I get good light on all sides. Now the other thing is this is self-contained, so it's self-watering. So what you do is you pour the water in the top and there's little holes, and the holes go from each pocket all the way down. Now we are going to start with pre-moistened soil. That way we know that it will receive the water, and I'm going to be using potting mix. Now I am going to do seeds. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to put the potting mix to about probably right here, and then I might do this much with seed starter. That way I've got that nice loose seed starter for the seeds to get going. I am going to top it with vermiculite, and then I'm going to put saran wrap on top. I really don't have anything that will seal that shape right there, so I think saran wrap will do just fine. Not only that, all of these have different germination rates, and so I want to be able to pull the saran wrap off as they're germinating. So here's my little spinner right here, and I'll put the first one on there after I fill it with dirt. So as you can see here, it does have drainage holes in the bottom. That way everything drains out. In between each layer, you're putting one of these little round saucers, and as you can see, they've got little holes as well. So when I put this on here and I attach it, I put it right down in here, but what I do is I line the little hole up with the pocket, so that way the water drains into this pocket, into this pocket, into this pocket, etc., etc., etc. Once I fill this one with dirt and I pack it in and then I top it with a little seed starting soil, I put the little saucer on there, then I'll put the next layer on top, and then I'll keep doing that until I get all 7 layers finished. Then what I'm going to do is once I fill this one up, I'll put it on the spinner and I'll stack it as I go. I find that that's the easiest way to do it. The spinner does have wheels, so I'll be able to move it around. Now I've got a couple boxes of soil here. This was left over for some pots that we did for a customer at Christmas, and I'd already opened the bag. I knew I was going to use it for this project later, so I just dumped it in some flower boxes. But we brought it in. It was out in the greenhouse. We brought it in yesterday so it would warm up because it was really cold. And that's the one thing you don't want to do is use really cold soil. You want to use soil that you've warmed up inside first. So I'm going to use this little tub right here. I've dumped the bag in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this wet. And I'm going to get it so that I can clump or make a clump like this. Now I haven't put any water in this yet. This one's a little bit moist. But I want it to clump but not drip. And so that's the goal of what I'm going to do with this potting soil. Then I'm going to use a seed starter on top of that. All right. So as you can see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7. And here's the top where you dump the water in every time. All right, let's go over my seed packets. I am actually going to be able to plant a lot of different things. Once I started getting the seeds and figuring out what I was going to put where, it was like, wow, this is a lot of different foods that we're going to be able to serve for lunch and have fresh herbs, and oh, it's going to be so cool. All right, so I sorted them out and I kind of figured out what the shorter ones were to the taller ones, and I put the taller ones on the bottom and the shorter ones on the top. Now, some of these I'm not going to worry about how big they get because they're cut and come again, especially a lot of the lettuces. I can just cut those and then they'll regrow, and I can cut them and they'll regrow. Most of them are going to take between 30 and 50 days to come to harvest, especially the lettuces, the kales, the spinach, things like that. The herbs, when they get a good enough size, then I'll start cutting them. And the more you cut, they'll recover, they'll grow again. So this is going to be pretty cool. So I'll start with the ones on the bottom and then work my way to the top. Some of the seeds I'm going to plant in 2 and 3 cells. Some of them I might just plant in 1 cell. It really depends on what it is that I'm planting, what I like, what I asked the girls they liked and what they would eat. So we'll start with the bottom one, and we're going to plant 1 culinary sage because I think that's more than enough. This is actually a perennial herb here, but we're going to plant it here in the green stalk, and then I can always transplant this later into the landscape. All right, so sage, we're going to put in 1 cell. Then we're going to do this sweetie baby romaine. Isn't that so cute? So we should get some little baby romaine heads by planting this, and we're going to do this in 3 different cells, 50 to 67 days to get this one. And then I thought I would try this quick stir fry blend. I would be more than happy to make the girls a little stir fry for lunch. And so we're going to grow this one 45 days, and we're going to put this in 2 cells. So that takes care of the bottom. Then we'll go to the next one, and I'll call that number 6. All right, number 6, I'm going to do purple kale, which is this one here. I'm going to do 2 cells in the purple kale. I'm going to do chives, and I'm going to do 2 cells in the chives. And chives for me is a perennial here, and I can keep cutting this chive and making my little chive water that I use on my peonies and my monarda. And what it is I cut the chives and then I chop it up and I throw it in a pot of water and I bring it to a boil. And then I let it just steep in there. So once it's boiling, I turn it off, and then I just let that steep in there until it cools down. And then I run it through a colander and drop it into a squirt bottle. And then I use that spray bottle to spray preventatively on my peonies and my monarda to prevent powdery mildew. And so far, so good. I haven't had any. This works really well. You got to be pretty persistent though and put a lot of it on there all the time. But if you start doing it right when your plant comes up, and you just have a habit of when you're walking through your garden or you grab that spray bottle because it's close and you see it, you'll do it. So I'm going to grow chives. And again, I can always transplant these into the garden as well. Or I can just dispose of them when we're done with this project. Either one. All right, I'm also going to be growing 2 little cells, and I'm going to grow this Farmer's Market Lettuce Blend Sweet Greens and Reds. So this is a loose lettuce, and it's a cut and come again. The more you cut it, it'll just keep growing. And usually lettuce will keep growing until it gets too hot temperature-wise, and it'll just kind of bolt or it'll get bitter. But we'll have a long season of cutting this, because usually I can make lettuce go, oh yeah, until like the end of June. So awesome. All right, the 5th one, which is the 3rd from the bottom, we are going to be doing these crispy winter greens. And so this one actually takes the longest to come to harvest, 80 days. But I'm going to grow it. I think it's going to be really fun to have this one. And so maybe Mother's Day we'll be having this one for lunch. But it'll be really cool to watch these grow in the store. So we're going to do 3 trays with that. And then I grew this one last year. I really liked the flavor of this lettuce. But this is called Flash Troutback. And here it shows it kind of like a head lettuce. But last year I grew it kind of like as a loose lettuce. And I kept cutting it and cutting it and cutting it. And it just kept growing and growing and growing. Had a great flavor. So we're going to do this one in 3 cells as well. 4th from the bottom, we're going to be doing some cherry bell radishes. Super easy to grow a radish, but if we're going to have salad, I figure we can have radishes, and radishes are really good on fish tacos. So grow the radishes for that as well. They only take like 30 to 35 days to come to harvest, and then if I want, I can plant them again. I'm also going to plant some nasturtiums because I think it will be fun for the girls to experience eating flowers in their salads. So it's got a little bit of a peppery flavor to it, but we're going to grow the nasturtiums. Oh, and the nasturtiums are going to go in 3 trays, the radishes in 2, and then the last one I'm going to grow in tray number 4 will be the black-seeded Simpson. Super easy lettuce to grow, but I don't really think it has a lot of flavor, so I'm only going to put it in 1 cell. So the girls said they wanted this one, so we're going to put it in 1 cell. All right, now let's go 3rd from the bottom, or 3rd from the top. I guess we're 5th from the bottom, 3rd from the top. All right, we're going to do an Italian leaf parsley, just so that we have some yummy parsley that we can have that's fresh. We are going to do that in, let's see, what did I write? 2 cells. And then we're going to do this baby leaf lettuce. This is an heirloom cutting baby loose lettuce. And so we're going to do that in 2 cells. And then we're going to do oregano. Now, oregano for me is also a perennial, and I can transplant this into the herb garden later. The flat leaf Italian parsley is a biennial. It'll actually come back a 2nd year. But I find that if you try to use parsley the 2nd year, it's a little more bitter. So I have a tendency to treat it as an annual. So there we go. Those are the ones that will be in the 3rd from the top. Now, the 2nd from the top, we're going to do spinach. And I'm going to do spinach in 4 cells. And I'm going to do cilantro in 2 cells. That way we've got some nice greens going on. Cilantro is a cool season herb. So once it gets hot, it's done. So we're going to start some early, and we'll be in cilantro all the way until June. And spinach spinach has a tendency to kind of poop out towards the end of June, but we want to use this, and we can use it in the stir fry, we can use it in the salad. So I can take some home, give some away to the girls. So we're going to do this as well. All right. Then in the very top one, we're going to do curly parsley, because you got to have curly parsley too. And I'm getting ready to buy a freeze dryer. So I want to try freeze drying some of the parsley and see how it does. So we're going to grow some of this as well. And then arugula. I like arugula on salads, and I like it as my lettuce on sandwiches. It has a little bit of a peppery taste to it, grows really fast. You can keep cutting it. It's a cut and come again. So the arugula, and then I'm going to grow thyme. Now the thyme is one that we can transfer to the garden. This is just a regular garden thyme, and so I can use this one in my path that I'm doing over by the brick wall. Yeah, I'll get good use out of this. All right, so those are all the ones that we're gonna grow. Now, I made myself a list here, and I just actually need to transfer it into my little garden book so that I know kind of what I'm doing. I am gonna make tags and put them in there, and I'm gonna cover them with saran wrap when I'm done. All of these have different germination rates. I think the fastest one is gonna be like 4 days, that's a radish. Most of them are anywhere between 7 and I think the longest one is sage, and the parsleys can take up to 21 days to germinate. They're slow. And I've got it up here where the window is because the sun sets and it's low on this side of the building. But that's also where they come in every day, so it gets a little colder. But all of these can handle a little bit more of the cool temperatures because we do turn the store temperature down to like 55 at night. And these can all handle that. So pretty excited. All right, let's get our but our soil done, prepped, and get them filled. All right, here's our green stalk all planted up, and as you can see, I made a little bit of a mess. I'm gonna have to clean that up. All right, I'm gonna call it for today, and we will start back up tomorrow and get the planting done. All right, we are back. It is the next day. I've got my green stalk planter in the place where I want it to grow, and I'm gonna use this front area because I have windows all over the place, and even though it's a little bit cooler up here, there's great light, even when the sun is on the other side of the building. So I think it's gonna do really well here. We're going to individually saran wrap each of the cells because everything has different germination rates. That way they have an opportunity to germinate, and I can just pull that saran wrap off as they grow. We'll monitor the water in them every day, make sure they're not drying out, but we're going to do the whole water from the top and let it trickle down, and we'll just keep an eye on it. It is drier air in the winter because we have the overhead heaters going, so we might have to water it twice a day, but we'll keep an eye on that. All right, let's get started. We already talked about what we're planting where, so I'm just gonna get busy, start at the bottom, work my way to the top. There you go, one green stalk all planted up. I'll keep you updated on the progress. I still have to saran wrap all the little cells, but I actually have to run home to get saran wrap. I thought I had some here, but I don't. So that's all I've got for today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope that it inspired you to maybe plant something of your own. I'm Michelle, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.